連念オーラのエネルギーを増大させる技。あらゆる強さを売るのに不可欠な要素だ。
My God, imagine Killua and Gon getting to that point,
増大させた念オ
and
ー
then
ラを
this point.
最終的に発する技。ゴンがギドとの戦いで重傷を負ってから1ヶ月後、天空闘技場では
A time
注
skip
目
does
の
make
一戦
sense,
が
right?
行われようとしていた。
Oh, look at him. He's got a knack for sneaking in a bit of training. Of course. He did it in half the time. He's got a knack for that as well. I've seen it. Yeah, and he helped him out by saying 2 months, but he's done it in a month. Fair enough. Tickets? Oh, yes! And that's the ticket to have. Yeah, of course. I love that. Of course. 8 and 3.
その参拝は不先輩だった。先輩？戦闘準備期間がなくなったから登録だけして試合には来なかったらしい。
Interesting.
つまり、ひそかは実際に戦えば負けなしってことだ。
Okay then.
その上、相手に取られたポイントはわずか4ポイント。
Okay, good. I like to hear that.
クリーンヒット3回のみ。
But you just have to land a punch somehow. Ooh.
たく。
Yeah, it's kicking in again.
顔はちっとも参ったって言ってねえよ。2年前にこいつが唯一ひそかからダウンを奪ってる男。
Rematch. Gotta love a
しかもこ
rematch.
のダウンを含めて、ひそかが取られた4ポイントのうち、
How about the other
3ポイントはこい
3?
つからなんだ。ひそかから3ポイントも。でもいいのかな。ウィングさんとの約束が。
今日から2ヶ月間、一切の試合を禁じます。
He's a spectator at this
お
point.
よび念について調べることも許しません。
Oh, or the study. Yeah, right.
大丈夫に決まってるだろ。ただ試合を見るだけなんだから。
ダメです。試合観戦も念を調べる行為に相当します。
Yeah. It's a learning opportunity,
い
right?
きなり脅かすなよ。
ゴン君、腕の怪我はもういいんですか？
Or the right arm, was it?
もう大丈夫です。
なんという回復力だ。私がゴン君に言い渡した期間は2ヶ月です。
Gotta be strict about that. I like it. I like that about him.
君はあと1ヶ月、天のみの修行と万全の回復に専念しなさい。
わかりました。
じゃ、そういうことで。
おっす。お大事に。
You can still
試合は
go.
録画しとくとして、俺だけでも見てくるか。
言いつけをちゃんと守り、天のみを毎日行っているようだ。
And some
通
physical
常の
training, I
状態で
suppose.
微弱に流れ出るオーラのイメージが如実に物語っている。彼らのそれは静寂の大河を彷彿とさせる。
How about that?
資本代？あ、いえ、なんでもないっす。
Yeah, he's noticed.
いかんな。私の方が心を乱されているではないか。
I mean, you're seeing something really quite special, right? So it's understandable. Can he resist? Yeah, this is the big one, isn't it? Or is he gonna turn it off?
誓いの糸です。これを見て、常に約束を忘れぬように。
But yeah, it's tough. Yeah, Hisoka pulled the same thing in the last episode, right? Match of destiny, eh? They certainly know how to market it. 9 and 1. It's full on like build up and everything. I love it. Careful now. He's gonna know he's there, isn't he? Yeah. Oh.
何？
That's right.
バカな。いつの間に。
This is the big leagues, my boy.
素早くドアを開けて横をすり抜け背後に。いや、サインもらおうと。
Come on, he knows that's not the case.
それは光栄だな、キルア君。
He's done his
同じ
research.
200回クラスのライバルくらいチェックしてるよ。ゴンテコは一緒じゃないのかい？
あら、全部バレバレなのね。
Look at the hair
今日は
color.
敵情視察かい？
ちょっとあんたを近くで見たかっただけさ。
で、私の印象はどうだい？
Impressive.
相当やるね。
ありがとう。キルア君の絶もなかなか見事だったよ。だが気配を消すなら、この回に来る前からじゃなきゃ意味がない。
He caught
君ほどの
drift of
使い
it.
手の気配が急に消えたら、私でなくても警戒するよ。
さっきの一体どうやったの？
残念ながら教えられないな。いずれ君と戦うかもしれないしね。
俺これ以上ここで戦う気ないから。
そうかい？君のオーラはそうは言ってないけどな。
Ooh.
冗談だよ。答えは試合でお見せする。バトルオリンピアで待っているよ。
Oh. He doesn't really want to go to Battle Olympia. Maybe he might have to know.
君なら来られる。
Challenge
戦
issue.
う気ねえっつうの。
ヒソカ選手 VS カストロ選手因縁の決戦。
As a combat sports fan, I'm really quite excited about this
お
setup.
前の洗礼がなければ、私はここまで強くはなれなかっただろう。
How about that? Scuffed his face.
まずはカストロ選手の先制打が炸裂。
まただ。錯覚か。
2年前の私とは違う。
I'm sure this is some
次は容赦しない。
interesting use of Nen. Oh, again.
まただ。避けたはずの攻撃が。
He's got a big cape on there.
逃げるばかりで攻撃してこないのか。
Careful now, my friend. It is Hisoka after all. Hold on. Hold on. Something feels off.
今見たものは私
Yeah.
のせいでしょうか。
He
まだ
knows.
気は変わらぬか。
Or perhaps he is kind of, holding back by choice.
気のせいかな。君が消えたように見えたんだが、目の前にいて僕に蹴りをくれたはずの君が一瞬にして背後にいた。
Killua experienced something similar.
違和感。
Something does feel off.
何か基本的なものを見落としている感じかな。
その程度の使い手だったと思う。
I don't know about that, friend. Oh. Oh, special attack.
俺もまだよくわかんねえけど。このままだとやられちまうぞ。
I doubt it.
あげるよ。
Ooh, love the score there.
こっちのな。
Oh. No blood. Hold on. There's something going on here.
すべてが自分の思い通りになると思うなよ。
Maybe he was expecting you to act in that manner.
これも計算のうちさ。
ふざけ。
He didn't actually take his arm, did he? There's something up here. How morbid. Look at this.
なるほど。君の能力の正体はダブル。
さすがだな。
He can essentially recreate an image of himself. It's gotta be Nen, right? In some capacity?
なんとカストロ選手が2人に分裂。
It's like his life force was split into two.
ドッペルゲンガーというやつかい。
まさしく。
ドッペルゲンガー。
Go on then. Explain it, my guy.
ああ、ダブルと呼ばれる、いわばもう一人の自分のことで、本人に目撃されたもののことを一般的にはドッペ
But
ルゲ
like,
ンガー
how about the technique itself though? Let's hear about that.
このことからダブルは本人側から何らかの力を吸い取って出現するものと推察されている。あくまで一般的な説だよ。しかも彼はそれを鍛錬により習得した。
むしろ消える直前増えたような気がしたから。君は消える前に増えているんだよね。
そこに気がつくとは大したものだ。
As expected of Hisoka, of
私は
course.
念によってダブルを作り出すこと
Of course, it's
に
an
成功した。
あのヒラヒラした服も視覚を増やすため一役買ってる
Now,
わけ
yeah, it makes sense. He's got this big ass
ありゃ
cape.
相当の使い手でも戦闘中にからくりを見破るのは困難だぜ。
つまりお前は二人の私を相手にしなければならない。
Almost feels unfair, but you know, it's established through
こ
Nen.
れが念によって完成した真の国宝剣。
おっとこれは大番狂わせか。
Hold on, hold on.
ヒソカ選手が絶対絶命だ。
それでもまだくだらぬ余裕を見せていたいか。
That really gets to him, doesn't it?
そうだな。ちょっとやる気出てきた。
Yeah, if this man gets into it, you're in trouble.
繰り広げられる激闘とその後に待ち受ける想像を絶す
Ooh,
る結末
beautiful.
をゴンはまだ知らない。
今日ご紹介するのはリールベルト。溜めたオーラを吹き出して黒マイスを操るよ。
武器は2本の鞭。この鞭にも何か秘密がありそうだな。
ムチムチ。
Okay, let's get into it. I mean, you know, of course, as you know by now, you know, I'm a big Hisoka fan. Big Hisoka enjoyer. So anytime I get a focus or an episode that is focusing on Hisoka, it's an absolute treat. You know, I just really, really enjoy this character. Everything about him. Just everything about him. You know, even his approach here in this really controlled and official setting is really quite fascinating, isn't it? Right? I mean, on one end, it's really quite understandable and it's really quite expected, right? But still, it is fascinating to see him in this setting. Now, of course, I'll get into all of that, the fight itself. But the episode as a whole, you know, I thought it was essentially a great step up in terms of our Nen education as the audience, right? Because up until this point, you know, yes, it's been gradually explaining these building blocks, the 4 principles and all of that, right? And I think it's done a fantastic job so far, right? So far, so good. So far, so good. Now you see and you feel essentially just by watching the fight itself. And, you know, before I go any further, the result of the fight is not even really a thing, right? It's not about the result of the fight because, of course, us, the audience, knows the homie Hisoka is going to win. Surely, of course, he's going to win. But the exciting aspect is to actually get to see how exactly he's going to win, right? Because now, right, he's in a setting, he is in a setting that gives him someone that is at least really quite capable of kind of testing Hisoka, kind of, you know, pushing him at least a tad bit. Even if, for the most part, everything that happens there is because Hisoka wants it to happen. Because for the most part, he's allowing Castro to pull all of this off. He's letting it go down, right? It's all by design. The thing is, as impressive as he might have seemed, and I'm speaking of Castro, I feel for the dude because I do feel like he's in for a rude awakening in the next episode or the episode after that. I mean, maybe it might be a bit much to stretch it into the next 2 episodes. I'm kind of hoping it does kind of conclude in the next episode. But you see there, by the end of the conclusion, Hisoka has finally taken a bit of interest. Now that he has figured out Castro's doppelganger ability, his double ability, yeah, he's essentially ready to go in now, right? The whole point of this was to get an understanding for this, right? Even giving up his arm, that's by design. You know, there's no chance someone like Hisoka is going to be caught off guard in that manner, right? I mean, they essentially confirmed that everything that happened is how Hisoka was kind of hoping for it to happen, right? He's kind of leaving himself open so he can understand this ability. And the thing is, the only reason this man is here right now, and I'm speaking of Castro, is because I think Castro found himself in the same position Gon finds himself in now, right? You know, Castro is, or was at this point, I think, Hisoka's plaything, right? At that point, 2 years ago, right, he let him go. He let him go. He's only alive and he's only back here because Hisoka felt that, okay, you know, right now I don't feel the need to kill him, right? But he didn't kill him because I'm assuming he kind of sensed and kind of just felt that there is more untapped potential. There is room for growth within this fighter, Castro. So he let him go. And by letting him go, I mean that he didn't actually kill him through one of his knockouts, right? They firmly established that I think he killed 6 of them. Six knockouts and 6 kills, essentially. But this one didn't die. Castro didn't die. And again, it's by design he didn't die. Here he is 2 years later for this rematch. And I've got to say, I love how it really leans into the marketing aspect of it, right? The commercial side of Heaven's Arena. Just building up this massive fight, massive rematch. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of interest. It's like a sold out fight. I love how they're even talking about scalpers, right? Outside of the arena. It just really grounds it, doesn't it? Especially for us combat sports fans, right? I've seen this hundreds of times, the excitement over a big fight, the build up, leaning into the narrative, right? There is a story to be told and sold, right? And I just really ate all of it up. And it actually it lives up to it, doesn't it? It feels like it's a massive step up from, say, someone like Gone against, God damn it, I forgot the guy's name already, the top guy, the guy who uses Nen for his tops. But here in this fight, you really kind of get to see 2 masters of Nen, right? I'm not listen, I don't know, maybe the guy who uses the tops, maybe he could be considered a master of Nen. I don't know. It's not really the feeling I got, but here in this fight, these 2 completely felt like masters of Nen. And it's a different application of Nen. It's a really creative application of Nen. Now it's showing us, the audience, okay, you've seen the basics. You've seen how it can be applicable to objects. You can see how Nen can be imbued into some objects. But now I'm getting to see some masters of their craft, some masters of Nen using it in a really creative manner, in a manner that is really quite unpredictable. And it really introduces this new side to any potential future fights as well, outside of this controlled Heaven's Arena setting, right? This whole element of, okay, it's not as simple as just knowing that, that Nen is in play. There's this whole element of actually figuring out the damn technique first, right? Before you can even counter it. And it feels like there's hundreds or thousands of unique applications of Nen. Like right here, I saw something really quite incredible. This is not an illusion. This man is actually replicating himself, right? Maybe not the replica, the doppelganger, the double. Maybe he cannot sustain it for a prolonged amount of time, but he was certainly, maintaining it for a decent amount of time at the end there. Once, of course, Hisoka figured it out, and then he saw no need to actually hide it anymore. And yeah, the whole aspect of his cape, that poncho-like attire, his uniform, his costume, it was kind of strange attire for a fight setting, isn't it? Right? It's really quite impractical. So, I remember even kind of commenting on it, and then, yeah, it kind of comes back to it, doesn't it? And to me, it kind of feels like at this point of the series, everything that I'm seeing could come into play at some point down the line. Right, so I'm always trying to remember things I'm learning at this point. It's all by design. It's all by design. They're giving us all of this information to get us ready for story arcs, multiple story arcs down the line. Perhaps maybe I am going to see this application of a doppelganger, of a double, imposter. Maybe something of that ilk might come into play. Right, I'm sure there's a good chance of that coming into play at some point. And this controlled look at Hisoka's ability is also by design, isn't it? Right, I finally kind of get to see him up against someone that is, at least formidable, someone that can challenge him. And the fact that, it is this double ability, you see that Hisoka actually takes a few hits, and it's really quite jarring, isn't it, to see that? But the thing is, ultimately, he is also taking these hits by design, right? Because he knows there's something off. Oh, also, before I forget, his arm getting severed. I mean, there is almost no reaction to losing his arm. And at no point did I feel like it's permanent. It just did not feel like it. To me, it just immediately felt like, okay, clearly Hisoka is giving up this arm because he's sure that it's not going to be a permanent amputation or something, So at this point, I'm pretty sure that Hisoka's not going to be without an arm for the rest of the series. He'll get it back. Clearly, he'll get it back somehow, right? I'm sure there's some crazy use of Nen in play. But also, I do have to remember that earlier in the series, they did have a bit of censorship. So, that aspect of it, you do have to kind of remember that, okay, maybe maybe it is meant to have a lot of blood or something, but it didn't. But sometimes that's, I don't know, it can kind of throw you off, right? Because you, at first, almost immediately, I thought, okay, there's no blood, so there's something at play here. But I have to remember, there could have been blood, there should have been or might have been blood, if not for censorship. But still, the point being, I don't think he's about to lose his arm for good, right? I think he'll be fine. He'll be just fine. I mean, he put it up there. It was up for grabs. He wanted this man to come at him, right? And, it is the cold and calculated Hisoka that I've come to expect, right? He's dismissive of this man, of Castro, and you see that gets to him, right? Hisoka knows how to get this man to react or behave in a manner that he needs him to react in or behave in, right? Castro, who's earlier really quite calm and composed, begins to kind of get agitated, kind of begins to act out and, starts voicing his next move. I'm going to take your arm, because it is beginning to get to him. That, Hisoka is still so dismissive. And I love that line of dialogue. It is so Hisoka. It is so cool. It is so suave. It is so sexy, isn't it? You'll have my best shot once I deem it necessary. How fucking cool, But let me go back to Castro, because I do like him. I do like him in the build up to this. And I think one of the standout moments of this episode is actually that scene I get up top. Not up top. I mean, it is up top, but they're already there, right? Of Killua doing a bit of scouting, right? Kind of tapping into some of his assassin skills, perhaps. But it was a learning moment for Killua as well, wasn't it? Because even though he hides his presence, he conceals his presence through zetsu. And of course, Castro tells him, yeah, it's impressive, but you should have hidden it much sooner, right? Because by the time you got to the floor, your aura is so distinct. And of course, people like Gon and Killua give off really distinct auras, powerful auras, right? I think Master Wing actually referred to it as the serene river. But once these master practitioners of Nen have already kind of clocked that presence, concealing it after the fact is going to throw up some red flags, right? And he tells Killua as much. So it's a great learning moment for Killua. But the thing is, Castro was able to get quite the interesting read on the really specific type of aura that Killua seems to be exuding, right? Castro believes that, okay, even though he's saying one thing, he actually does kind of want to fight, right? He wants to continue in this, in this tournament. Maybe he wants to get to the top to battle Olympia. But beyond that, just that aspect of it, getting a really specific read from someone's aura, that is really fascinating. That is really exciting. And it opens up a lot of possibilities just for the series as a whole. But yeah, it was great. It was really great to see the build up to the fight, seeing Castro give his interviews before the fight, the pre-fight build up, the match of destiny, the rematch 2 years in the making, Castro's revenge and all of that. But, I just spoke of zetsu, Killua's zetsu specifically in this situation. Let's use that to pivot to Gon, right? He sits out a lot of this episode, right? Because he understands that, yeah, I made a promise, or they focus on that promise thread a few times, Gon remembering, okay, I made a mistake, right? And I promised Sensei that, I'll sit this out. I'll accept the punishment. He forbids me to watch, to partake, to study. So I'll do as he says, right? So I love that about Gon, right? It strikes quite a unique balance, doesn't it? At points, and you see that he doesn't quite know his limits, but he's also a good kid. At his core, that element is present, that he's a respectful young man. He's a good kid. He is, right? But he's still a really unique specimen, because this kid recovered in a quarter of the time that the doctor expected, right? 4 months was the expectation. And then, of course, Killua, kind of fudges it up a bit and tells Sensei that, yeah, 2 months. But look at this, 1 month and the homie is good to go. Right? He is just built different. But, let's kind of focus on that aspect of it. Because, there is that element of zetsu that is helpful, really quite helpful in helping you recover and, slowing down old age and all of that. So he's always kind of had a knack for that element of it, or at least for that principle, right? I really, really see it. I really see him truly tap into it in the exam phase, right? Because he was, again, under immense pressure because he's trying to conceal his presence from Hisoka, and he manages it, right? He does it. And he clearly excels at it. But again, is there more to it? There might be more to it. Maybe I'll find out a little bit later. For some reason, it is just really quite natural to him, specifically perhaps, right? Because you have someone like Killua who is really quite shocked about this. Killua from the Zoldyck clan, right? He's really quite amazed by this, right? He thinks it's really off, that it is really strange that Gon is able to heal in such a speedy manner, right? So maybe there is something that is quite unique to Gon, maybe something unique to his bloodline, maybe that's something that goes all the way to his dad. I mean, at this point, I don't even know who his mom is, right? So let's see, maybe there is something that actually could be unique to Gon, right? But I'm kind of associating a lot of this to, his, his natural ability towards zetsu. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. It's a great continuation of Nen, right? Taking the next step up, showing us just how extremely versatile it is in the hands of masters, right? Just how unpredictable it can be, right? And how creative some of these master Nen users can be with the abilities. So yeah, I thought it was a great showcase for all of that. So if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, full opacity, or perhaps even timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, things like Twitter and Instagram, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 32. Until then, take it easy.